We're a charge point operator is what our main business is. So we actually look after charging points, we maintain them and we operate them, and that's actually for the refueling of electric cars publicly. So although we do domestic installs here in Gibraltar, our main focus is actually looking at the public network and actually getting people, away from diesel and petrol cars over time and putting them into electric cars, where they're full electric or hybrid cars.
How many electric vehicles would you say are being used at the moment? It's perhaps dozens, hundreds, is it more?
Is purely just down to dozens. It's growing quite quickly now, though. We are seeing the first taxi has just recently come into Gibraltar, which is now full electric, and we've actually been out in that one this week, and that vehicle is using our charging points at Midtown, because obviously they need reliability of charging and it needs to work when they get there. I think what you do find is always that chicken and egg scenario, and so although the cars are available, quite often the infrastructure isn't available. And then some areas we have in Gibraltar as well is you have an issue of power, so we haven't always got the power where we need to put the charging points, so you always have a knock-on effect, and that then takes time to then obviously try to get the power to the site we need it, and then actually then put the charging points in for people then to go and buy the cars.
The government has said that they are awaiting industry standardization on electric car charging points. What's your view on that?
Unfortunately, that is actually an incorrect statement. That is actually not correct. Since 2003, there has been a push to drive a standardisation in electric vehicle charging socket types. So there are two that is now the recommended and what all the manufacturers are using, which is for AC charging is type 2. And that is a European standard, so it doesn't matter where the car is manufactured and where the car is being sold into, whether it's in the UK or throughout Europe, it will always be type 2 for your AC charging. Then for DC charging, it's known as CCS, which is charging combined socket. So then that actually does your DC charging. So both of those socket types are 100% out there now. There is no differences coming. It's unless the Chief Minister is going to come out with some special Gibraltar socket, I doubt it very much. But no, to be honest with you, the socket types will not change going forward.
So are you working with the government in any capacity to help electrify our roads?
Yes, a couple of the areas we're actually working on at the moment is we're looking at one location where we're going to put battery storage in. So with a battery storage solution, that will actually use off-peak and or spare power when it's available at the location. We will store that within the battery. It's quite a big battery, and it takes up about one parking space within the car park. And then we can then use that to then deploy out to the EV charging points. So when we have say a power of resource issue at the location, it would then rely on the battery bank to actually top that up. Secondly, we are able to also add PV and solar PV, so we can either do that by carport canopies, sort of actually in the car park if it's outside, or it could go on the roof of the building and then just bring the cable back down to where the electric vehicle charging points are. Going forward then into housing in particular, when you look at a lot of the current housing stock that's here in Gibraltar, there is quite often no power left to actually put EV charging in. So those locations are unable to put electric vehicle charging points in, and we have had quite a few applications in with GEA, and we've had a zero come back to say there is no power left for us to use. However, when you look at planning regulations now, which is changing, which says all new builds will have to have either passive, which means some of it is all pre-wired out ready, or active charging points in them. So all future new builds, and we are working with some of the developers here in Gibraltar to actually now add EV charging points within their build program. And of course, it's a little bit easier for them because they can actually work on getting the electric power to the site in the first place to actually accommodate the EV charging. There is still obviously power restrictions because obviously if the cable going from point A to B isn't big enough to get the power to the building in the first place, we are able to load manage. So what we can do is put far more charging points in than we actually have power to do so at each location.